Hey, friends. Starting a little early. How are we? Just checking in. Hey, Kylie, do you remember what it was that I mentioned like twice in class that I wanted to talk about while I was streaming tonight? I forget what the hell it was. It's been bugging me since then. I'm soft. Okay, I'll fix that, I think. How's that? Is that better? That is true. If you think of it, let me know. And if I think of it, I'll probably make a really loud, sudden noise. All right. Yeah, I just increased my gain a bit, so that should hopefully fix things. Cool. I forget how much of a delay there is, but it's the encoding software, and it's pretty unavoidable. Yeah, don't worry about it. If you think of something that I've mentioned that might be relevant, then just put it in the chat, and I'll hear about it. I wonder if I can fiddle with this. Yeah, I know I was talking about that stuff. Yeah. Can I apply changes without resetting the game? Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. That should make sure we're not dropping too many frames. It might have been. I remember it was right in the middle of class, which is why I didn't actually go onto a tangent about it. So it was something that reminded me of something that I knew. It's something I was reminded of something that I knew something in the game would remind me of. Oh yeah, that too. Make sure you turn in your project plans. You got until Friday. Yes. While enjoying Yeehaw Skyrim with Professor McCoy. Yeah, I'm definitely not. I'm not that old, guys. I promise. Oh gosh, I really should just send links to this to a few of my students from last year who are always making fun of me for being old. Right. I know you did. You actually finished your interview already, so you're fine. It's more if anybody else shows up and hasn't. All right. Oops. Okay. All right. I've dilly-dallied enough, and I've fiddled with settings enough. So let's go into it. See what happens. It is. I just absolutely adore the music for this game. The entire soundtrack is phenomenal. That was one of the things that I just kind of shut up and let everybody enjoy last time. Was near the end of it was just that carriage ride music. Ah, that was so nice. It was just so nice. Oh, a question, and you can answer this in the chat. CJ, are you okay with me talking about identifying you at all, or should I just refer to you as CJ in here? Didn't occur to me at any point earlier. I was about to ask you something, and I wasn't sure. So I'll wait my 30 seconds and see what you have to say in response in the chat. All right. Okay. Anyway, so Mrs. McCoy, do you want to go and start throwing comments and links into the various threads where we've been talking about streaming in Saint Posting? If you want to, that might get us more questions that'll be particularly relevant to what's going on. Otherwise, we're just walking around Valentine. And I believe I've got an optional stranger to talk to over here. So I'm gonna go talk to a stranger. Oh, I think it's the vet. I think it's the armless vet, if I remember correct. He's... Sorry about that, mister. Yeah, it is. I hear him. Such a friendly guy. There's some great development of this guy throughout. But you have to be dying first.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
I'm too old to get a job, mister. Way too old. Can't we be friends?
Yeah. Always be friends with the very nice weirdo.
Sure. I'm so happy. I ain't had a friend in a long time. Long, long time. My last friend died. Weren't my fault. They said it was, but they was wrong. It's fun being with you, mister. Can I hold you a second, mister? Can I?
Okay.
Okay, just quickly.
That felt good. It's nice to be held sometimes. Oh, we used to hold each other in the war. You got sad eyes, mister. Like you seen sad things.
Yeah.
Kindness.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Arthur was a bad madman stuff throughout here, and I'm sure that's going to be bringing some stuff up when we talk about the fall of the devil and all that. But that's coming up when we're going to be talking about that Anselm's text on the fall of the devil next week. So
Try to remember what really happened at Sylvia's Saloon back in '76.
Just a lot of bunk, Plato. It's just a lot of bunk.
It's not bunk, Mr. Calloway, sir.
Not that, Plato.
It's history.
Ancient history, done and dusted. The dead got off lucky, the living gotta keep suffering. Same as always.
But did you shoot the Newton twins?
I don't give a pig's penis about the Newton twins. One of them was a girl, anyhow.
But you had been
Hey,
friends
Issa.
back in '73. You rode the Alabaster Trail together.
Funny thing about pigs' penises. They're curly, like their tails.
oh, hey, autosave. All right, yeah. Yeah, this is... I love this quest. There's a lot of great journalistic ethics, let's say,
This isn't going very well.
in this one.
Apparently not.
In this quest line.
This is Jim Boy Calloway. The Jim Boy Calloway.
Who?
The
Journalistic ethics,
gunslinger.
and then also a lot to do with
Fastest left-handed draw that
with,
ever drew breath. He once killed 14 men in a fight
meeting with
losing
crazy
out.
people and
What
the
do you
expected
mean?
happening, let's say.
Well, I reckon right now, kill him yourself.
I don't want to kill him. I want to deify him. He's a god. I'm trying to write his biography.
And how's that going?
I think I prefer the duel. Either I'd kill him and be able to be Baltimore's finest ever gunslinger, or he'd kill me and I could be set free from ever having to speak to him again.
Well, you're starting to understand something very important.
What's that?
The joys of gunslinging. It's win-win, freedom or glory.
That's brilliant. I'm going to write that down, if I may.
Be my guest.
What's your name?
I don't have a name.
But you are a
Ooh,
gunslinger.
mysterious.
Not
That is
really. Folks who need shooting, I try and shoot.
that is one of those
All that other
great
stuff.
moments of the old
Well,
western,
But you fought duels.
the old
Once
western,
upon a time, I may have.
And you ain't interested
not existentialist.
in fame.
What's the term?
I don't think so.
Strange. But you like
The
fortune.
old American West kind of
Sure.
very poetic
Okay.
outlook.
And forgive me, mister, if
know.
I seem a little desperate. I am a little desperate. This book, I've got to make a thing of it. And, well, there's a whole list of gunfighters. Legends, every last one. Emmett Granger.
Now we're just getting some exposition. So, what I was pointing out was
Black
there's a lot to talk about in terms of this quest. The guy wants wants historical records, but
shoot him.
But then he does that.
I just said that.
You know, he wants you to go ahead and just kill some folks because it makes the story better. That's kind of sketchy, to say the
That
least.
sound a lot worse than it did in my head.
How much you paying?
Well, a lot. Half the proceeds of the book, if you help me get it written.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, get photos.
Okay.
And there are notes on the back of those portraits that should lead you to him.
I'll see what I can find out.
I imagine we'll be stuck here upon your return. Here are some other flophouse.
Yeah, so if nothing else, he's certainly getting pretty closely invested in his in the subjects of his journalism, I guess you can call it. Yeah, Black Bell was way the hell down south and east of here, so that'll happen eventually, but it'll take a long time. Anyway, but no, it's let's see, like I said, a guy like this is not. I think we're supposed to get the impression that this is kind of the way that journalism was done at the time, and I actually don't know my American history well enough to know if that's really so common, if that kind of uncivilized kind of behavior was really so common. Maybe it was, and if so, then I'm glad standards have improved. But this, the involvement in cases that one is reporting on.
Maybe this is our man.
You a bounty hunter, mister?
Maybe. It depends.
Well, I'm guessing you ain't here to pass the day, turn yourself in, or discuss the finer points of county law. Then I don't need to know much more than that, till I got a reason to.
It's another thing that I'm gonna want to ask you guys for in the chat is what I should do with Arthur's hair and beard, whether I should actually have it get it cut or if I should just go full massively long mountain man beard. I don't know. I haven't decided. You guys can help me decide that.
But I've been around long enough to know you don't hire a saint to catch a sinner. You bring me what I need, and I'll pay you well, and I won't ask no questions.
So, what is it you need?
Why don't you have a look at that poster on the wall over there?
The kind of
down, huckster.
the
Poisoning folks with
utilitarian
just
attitude
from
that
here
you
to
see here
Hansburg.
with the sheriff.
More than land and Rick
This is very much
get some kind of sick satisfaction out of it.
it comes off like it's morally underhanded, morally untoward, that he's trusting potentially a criminal.
The money's good.
Braided. I don't know if there's a braided beard
I need him
option.
alive, though.
It might be a
I wanna make
braided
sure
hair
the budget
option.
with it
I'll see what I can do.
compensated before he swings.
Yeah. In any case, but like I was saying, there is a. It's kind of portrayed like that was sketchy, and yeah, that's sketchy. Presumably, the sheriff's job is primarily to catch the criminals and put them in jail if at all possible. But at the same time, I mean, if you can trust somebody to get the job done, even if it's only temporarily trust them, that sort of thing, and it works.
Hey, partner.
Then despite not doing another part of your job, you're still doing the part of your job that matters. And then, of course, you can wait for good old outlaw no name to go and do outlaw things, in which case you catch him. Right? So it gets the job done pretty efficiently. You hire a bad man to catch a bad man, that whole deal. But then also, you've got the bad guy, Arthur in this case, who is in a relatively good position to, if not turn his life around, which, let's be honest, is not likely when it comes to an outlaw. Even if this, in this case, with somebody like Arthur, that might actually be the case. That generally won't, but it might give them an opportunity to do something other than crime. And if that is the case, if that winds up succeeding, then, that helps everybody. And if it helps everybody, then, well, you've done not just the one good thing of bringing the criminal here, sending him after to justice, you've taken somebody else out of a life of crime. Of course, it doesn't usually work out that way, but, if it does, then that is, let's say, an excuse to do it that way. Is he up here? Yeah, I think so. Or is that his tent? Yeah, here we go.
What we got here?
All right, let's go talk to him.
Are you Benedict Albright?
Oh, sir?
Kind of look like him. And I was told he'd be up here.
No, not me, sir.
It's because I want to buy some medicine. And I heard good things. I'll pay in gold if you could help me find him. It's just my mother's real sick.
And here he has the very, very typical dirty cop self-incrimination trick, which is just wonderful.
I'm a healer, you know.
He does it really well. That was
Finest medicine in the
some prime acting, if you want to call it acting. You might just call it lying, for Arthur. And the turnaround is just like that.
What for? Apparently that stuff you're pushing is killing folk. And there's a price on your head. I don't know, it ain't my business.
Partner, that's crap. I'm a healer. I got an aura. I speak to spirits. I'm a scientist. Folks get real angry for no good reason. This is a mistake.
Keep your hands up, buddy. They only want you for questioning.
I have to insist that this is a mistake.
Don't be a fool. Hold on.
I'm slipping. Shit.
Oh, forgot how to do this. There we go. Ah, damn it. This is scripted, isn't it? I hate when games make you try something and then you're doomed to fail. Oh, never mind. Okay, I got him. That does happen sometimes, but not apparently this time. Anyway,
Let's make this easy.
so
It's just for questioning.
Oh, you saved my life.
so you have the question as to whether he's a huckster or whether he is,
Presley told me not to kill you.
whether you properly call him a murderer.
Don't jump.
What?
Yeah, that's a good point. I genuinely he talks to spirits, and all of that.
Come here.
But he also talks to spirits, and he's a scientist, and every damn thing he can think of. So it's really just another one of these, it's like, if you've seen, it reminds me of The Mummy, where the guy is just trying to flash up every religious icon he's got. Hold on a second, I gotta catch this bastard. Where the hell is he? Way up there. Jesus. Basically, he's just kind of throwing up whatever excuse he can think of. And it's a genuine question in terms of, like, healing crystals, like you're talking about. Whether this guy actually believes it. And that's an interesting point, whether he believes it or not, if that matters. I'm going to need the lasso. Whether it actually matters whether he believes it or not. Good old aim at this. Yeah, he's, if he does believe what he's selling, right? If he really does genuinely think that... Get over here. If he does genuinely think that he's healing people, you would think that he would care if people started dying. Then again, this is one of the more interesting things about when people get themselves into a situation like this. This kind of brings up something I've talked about a lot when I've talked about Pageau. Good hit. Let's take his money. When I've talked about Pageau, and especially when I've talked about how Pageau talks about tyranny, a lot of times somebody like this may have, let's suppose that he actually started honestly, that he really thought that he was helping people. He was really trying to help people. But then he realizes that what he's doing is starting to kill people. That his cure isn't really a cure, right? His cure is killing people, it's causing harm. Well, at that point, he's got a couple of options, right? He can keep doing what he's doing, then he can turn it into a deception, right? He can turn it into a lie. Because once, at that point, he finds out, right? He has to realize what he's doing is not helping people. Shut up, I'm talking. Anyway, like I was saying, he, at this point, it's pretty clear he's a huckster. He is pretty much a pathological liar at this point. But what we can say about this is that, shut up, I'm talking, is that he's definitely a huckster at this point, but even if he didn't start off that way, what might have happened was he made the initial choice to do what he thought was probably good. He wanted to help people. Yeah, right, like he might have actually believed that at some point. But then when he finds out that what he's doing, like I said, is hurting people, he can either try and figure his way out of it. Right? He could give himself up and then basically, kind of like Kylie's saying in the chat, right? That you can admit that you're at fault, and that means turning yourself over. It means basically going back on your entire identity. I've mentioned this in class too about the difficulty of changing what one believes, even in the face of evidence. That can be very, very difficult, if not impossible, for most people, because, like Pascal talks about, there's a pride element to it. Right? This guy probably, if he was, trying to be a genuine healer, he probably was pretty proud of what he was trying to do. He really thought he was helping people. He thought he was doing a good thing. Then it turned out he wasn't. He was, I get the feeling they were, whatever. I just drop him here? Okay, fine. So he's got to decide between basically overturning his entire life, on the one hand, and admitting that everything he's been doing has been harming instead of helping. That's got to destroy a guy, right? I mean, if the hangman's noose doesn't destroy the guy, then it's going to psychologically destroy him.
I've already forgotten. Now, sure, how much was you offered?
That's an interesting one.
Here.
Yeah, not bad.
Thank you.
That more than doubles the money I have.
Please,
it's
what I told you.
What? Don't come to my office. Anyway, but no, it's he's stuck, right? He's absolutely stuck. He can either turn himself in and completely change everything about his whole life, which is basically impossible. It'll destroy him, or it turns into a deception. And if it turns into a deception, then that's when it goes from bad to worse. That's when he goes from being a bad doctor to being a murderer in this case. And this is the kind of thing that can just spiral completely out of control. It can go from just I didn't do a good job healing somebody and somebody died to more and more off the deep end.
Just the toughest teak mountain man.
Oh, you be quiet, Anastasia.
I wonder if that dialogue ever changes depending on whether you cut your beard.
Yes, he's a pussy cat, and that's all, Arthur.
Okay.
You say. How much you cost anyway?
Well, ain't that a nice way to talk to a lady?
Oh, I didn't know I was talking to a lady.
Excuse me.
I gotta say, he gets a lot nicer to whores gradually.
Fine way with the women, amigo.
Yeah, regular dandy and a charm. Where's Bill?
Oh man.
Anyway,
I get to think about it.
It's the kind of thing where if you start going wrong, right, if you start getting into a situation like, all right, I gotta do this. I gotta do the fight. I will pick this up in a bit. I've got a video or two on it, but bastards. I'm gonna punch this guy real quick. Ow. we go. One down. Alright, who else we got? I guess I gotta save Bill, don't I? Sorry, boss. Yeah, you'd have to keep track. Okay, so yeah, so back to what I was talking about now that I don't have to repeat. Oh, okay, never mind. Fight's keeping going. I was wrong. Anyway, I'll try and keep talking a little bit. So keeping track of your lies is one thing, right? Which is, first of all, almost impossible. Once you've lied enough, you gotta keep going with it. And you have to keep adding more lies to the pile if you... Oh, here we go.
Pretty boy. Pretty boy? You're kidding me. Pretty boy?
If you're going to keep up the lie, you're going to have to keep lying. Keep adding more lies to it. Right? And that becomes a big problem when you have to keep track of everything. Quote attributed to Mark Twain that may or may not have actually been him. He allegedly said something like, if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said. You never have to remember a thing. Because by contrast, if you lie, because you have to remember exactly what you said when you lied. I have no control over how I'm hitting this guy, by the way, if anybody is wondering. There's one button for melee punch. I guess I can just keep pummeling him at this point. But you basically have to remember everything that you said. And not even just everything that happened, which you still have to remember. But then you have to remember the lies that you told. You have to remember the story that you told. I've read this in crime serials and stuff, and I don't know if this actually has any truth to it, but I've been told, I've read and heard that even like spies, like CIA assets and stuff, they're not given more than like maybe 2 or 3 different identities ever, because you cannot keep more than that straight, especially not separately. You can't keep different lies. You can't keep keep track of different lies all at the same time. Alright, fine. You know what? I can't pull a gun on him. I was going to pull a gun on him. I think you're supposed to lose this fight. I don't actually know. I'm dead. So that's part of it, right? You have part of the problem is this, like, trying to keep track of what you said, trying to keep track of the lies that you told. But then also, because of that, you're not just having to continue lying, you're having to continue all sorts of nasty, nasty things. And that really ties in with,
Please,
oh, this guy.
come, sir. You won the fight already. Surely that's enough.
What business is it of yours?
No business. No business, sir.
Here I promised I wasn't going to talk about any upper respiratory infections. I actually don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think there is a way of breaking away from it because everybody's kind of surrounding you.
Look who we found sniffing about. Josiah Trelawney.
Anyway.
Very same. Well, I thought you'd gone to New York.
In any case, well, I'll wait to
You
continue
must
until
be
the dialogue ends.
How are you?
Let them talk for a bit.
Quite well indeed. I went to Blackwater looking for you gentlemen. You're not very popular there, it seems. Ah! Javier and Charles. I've missed you. And Bill looking as well as can be. Gentlemen, always a pleasure.
You're right. We ain't too popular in Blackwater.
We left a lot of money there.
And young Sean, it seems.
Sean, you found him.
Yes, I have. He's being held by some bounty hunters, trying to see how much money the government will pay them. I know he's in Blackwater, but there's talk of them moving.
Well, if we step foot in Blackwater,
It's such a surprise that Arthur makes it through this game with all his teeth.
Pinkertons all over the place, but if he's alive, we gotta try.
Of course. It's you they want, Dutch.
Always is. Charles,
It's important to remember this. Dutch's attitude here, which is so incredibly different from later on. And maybe that has something to do with this kind of tyranny thing that I'm talking about.
What about me?
Well, exactly.
I wonder if Dutch's character progression actually has any parallels with what I was talking about. Maybe. That's something to keep in mind. Anyway, so what I was saying, this is the kind of thing where choosing to do the wrong thing, it has a kind of snowballing effect. I'm gonna have to wait till morning. Oh no, not okay. I can go take a bath.
Welcome back.
Choosing to do the wrong thing has a snowball effect.
Just
right?
head down the corridor there.
So if you tell a lie, you're going to have to tell more lies to keep up with it. If you do something wrong, if you do something untoward, then you're going to probably have to do more untoward things to keep it covered up, to keep up the charade, and then eventually you're going to spiral to worse and worse things. Right? So if that's the case, you're... I don't know why you need to... I don't know why there's a QuickTime event to scrub. That's the most bizarre thing. No.
Yeah, I think I'm okay, thanks.
Suit yourself?
But right, anyway, so what I was saying, Plato talks about this in the Republic, and I've got a video on this. One Decline of the City, Decline of the Soul, and he talks about this in the context of the tyrant, and he means both the oh yeah, I guess I can sleep like a normal person. That's not a bad idea. I guess you can. I guess it's possible to actually have Arthur be healthy before he starts dying. Anyway, yeah. He talks about this in the context of the political tyrant, but also what you can think of as a kind of personality type. The tyrant. Yes, actually, I will do that. The tyrant is a kind of person.
Yes, it is.
Right. So the tyrant is.
I really don't need any more trouble.
I didn't come to make it. I was just protecting a lady.
That's fair.
Well, all behind us now, I suppose. So what is it you need? A bath, perhaps?
Why now? Why is he asking this now? Anyway. All right. Do you hear that? Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and sleep till morning, so we don't have to listen. Anyway, that's disturbing. In any case, so the tyrannical person, right, the personality type, if you want, is not just the political tyrant. It also can be the kind of person who... Why? Why is he not sleeping? Morning. The personality type of the addict, right, is the other kind of model of this. Why is he not sleeping? What is going on here? Sleep until morning, please. There we go. Jeez. All right. Okay, well, maybe it's the headphones, because I was hearing some people in the next room, let's say. Now they're done, now that we're actually asleep. Yeah, so the tyrant, the personality type, the tyrannical person, as opposed to the political tyrant, the guy who's in charge, who runs a tyrannical regime, right? So that's not really the kind of thing. That's not the only kind of thing that Plato is talking about. He's kind of talking about the kind of person who, not a bad idea. To have your volume down. The kind of person who does something, but then kind of gets trapped in this this kind of feedback loop we were talking about in terms of doing the wrong thing, right? And in a case like this, part of how it happens according to Plato, is, I need a hat, is that you start by doing something wrong, and then typically it's you do something wrong in order to get something that you want, right? So you want something. But then you get it, right? So can I change this? No, I can't. But okay, there's multiple colors available. Neat. Anyway, so you do something wrong in order to get something you want, and then you get it. Okay, great, you got something, but you're pursuing errant desires. How do you hear it? Okay, so that's not what I thought it was. Let's leave. Let's leave immediately. Let's completely stop thinking about all of that and move on forever. And definitely leave. That was... Okay. Anyway, so I was saying something about tyranny before all of that. So what I was to go back to what I was saying about the tyrant, so the tyrannical person. Back to camp. Or did I Swanson? All right, camp it is. Oh wait, let me mark it. So the tyrannical person does something wrong to get what they want. Then they get what they want. Right? The trouble then comes when you get something you want, particularly if it's something that you have to do something wrong to get. Then you're going to immediately move on to the next thing, right? This is the mentality, the addict, like I was saying. So in that case, right, you're gonna get something that you want. You're gonna move on to something else. You're gonna be pushed along to the next thing, and then it's gonna be the next thing, and it's gonna escalate. It's gonna be the next thing, and it's gonna escalate. And so Plato points this out as the tyrannical person is the purely unjust person, or as close as you can get to the purely unjust person. And it matches well with who are these folks?
Just be wandering around here, friend.
Oh, O'Driscolls.
Not a thing happens round here without an O'Driscoll saying so. Understand me?
Consider this a warning. Shouldn't rile me.
I want to shoot these guys.
You'll be meeting the Reaper.
What the hell? Where's my gun? Are you kidding me? I forgot that I'm not an incredible badass yet, and that doesn't happen. I've been playing late game for too long. I'm an idiot. Anyway, moving on from me being an idiot and picking fights I shouldn't pick. I mean, it actually kind of relates to a little bit of what I was saying. That when you're, I should eat something. When you're used to getting anything that you want, like absolutely anything that you want, and then you get it, then you need to find something else to want. The problem there becomes the next thing you want. I'm not running from a bunch of damn O'Driscolls. The next thing you want is going to be more extreme, right? So Plato puts the example of the political tyrant, right? Who is a good example of this, usually with absolute power. And so if you got the political tyrant with absolute power, don't you dare tell me I deserved that. There was a bunch of O'Driscoll bastards, and they were being O'Driscolls, and I'm a good Vanderlyn boy, and I'd shoot me some O'Driscolls. Anyway, I'm getting too much into it. It's what my character would do. Anyway, that I shouldn't have hit antagonize. I should have just shot them. Hi.
It's me. Look who's back.
But what I should have. What happens is if somebody is capable of obtaining literally anything that they want, which is the case for very powerful political tyrants. Right? So if you've got a really powerful political tyrant, you really can get. They can get anything that they want. Yeah, I did. I did get it killed by O'Driscoll's, but it probably. I'd say it won't happen again, but it will. Hey, Hosea. Ooh, we're gonna go hunt a bear.
Hosea?
You want to go hunting?
What are you hunting? An elephant?
I wish. No, I saw a huge bear. One of the biggest I ever saw. I reckon nearly 1,000 pounds.
This is one of those quests that the last time I just kind of put off forever.
Let's go.
Where are we heading exactly?
Near the Dakota
But
River.
we'll
Might take
we'll
a
do
day
it.
or two.
I could do with a break from this place.
Anyway,
Me too.
so
It's been a rough couple
once
of
you
weeks.
have the absolute
Need
power,
anything?
or damn near close to absolute power,
Let's go.
you can get
So
basically
still
anything
ain't
you want,
replaced
right?
Boadicea?
But because you can get anything that you want,
This one's okay, but
you're gonna start wanting something new.
I've been meaning to offload this big Shire horse for a while.
When
now.
you
Unruly bastard.
where'd you get him?
Some
when you
big, loud
get everything you want,
bastard tried to rob
then
me
you want
without
something new.
riding, so I-
Then you do it again, and you get something, and you want something new, and you do it again, and you want something new, and you do it again, and you want something new, etc. You're eventually going to run out of things to want, or at least,
there. We'll unload him. You can buy yourself a new horse. Put your saddle on him. Let's
at
get
least
going.
you're going to run out of, let's say,
Nothing wrong with two horses.
wholesome things to want, and you're going to get to the point where you're going to have to come up with some very bizarre things to want. And this is why you get, like, horrifying degeneracy among the particularly powerful people. So if you think of just about anybody with enough political power, there's a very good chance that they're in Jeffrey Epstein's little black book. And if that means anything to you, then that should tell you what kind of person we're dealing with. Right? So, yeah. Glad I have the reputation of being the guy who punches people. Yeah. But you'll eventually wind up, if you can get anything you want for long enough, you're eventually going to start wanting a vacation to Pedophile Island, right? I'm not monetized, so I hope that's not a problem. Me saying the bad kitty diddling word, but you see the point. This is how people get to that kind of stage of degeneracy. They run out of good, useful things to want, and they wind up wanting worse and worse and worse things. This is how you wind up with the bad Roman emperors. My favorite example of this is Tiberius. Emperor Tiberius, the third or fourth Roman emperor. I don't remember offhand. I haven't prepped this as a lecture, so sorry.
Lenny and Jenny could never have worked.
Right, so he's not as well known as others like Caligula, maybe, who was Tiberius's adopted son, because he had to learn it from somewhere. But Tiberius would do this thing just as an expression of pure power, to show the Senate and the important people of Rome that he could do absolutely anything. He would invite people to his mansion on the island of Capri, off the coast of Rome. And shut up, horse. It's all right. Chill, big horse. And so he would invite powerful Romans, mostly people like senators and whatnot, to his mansion on Capri, this little island getaway. And he would do things like, in the middle of dinner, go into the next room, sleep with their wives, and then come back to dinner and critique their sexual performance. He would do things like abduct their children, the children of these powerful Romans. And by abduct, I mean invite over, but we all know what that means. So invite their children over, and he would... Graphic talk, so mute for like 30 seconds if you really don't want to hear this. He would sit naked, at least from the waist down.
Well, you're in the right place. I got some beauties
I
in at the
didn't steal a coat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to my story.
This one here.
But he would
To sell? I show you.
he would sit naked in a pool and have these children of very important nobles nibble around his nether regions, and he would refer to them as his minnows.
Your luck's in. I got a fella who's been looking for a decent...
Horrifyingly disgusting, and why would anyone ever want to do such a thing? Normal, well-adjusted people like you, presumably, I hope, and me would never think of such a thing. And we would never want such a thing, because why in the world would we want such a thing? I'll take little old Morgan here. Ooh. What should I name my horse? I'm going to wait for you guys. I'm going to wait. I'm going to give it a few minutes, let you guys come up with names for a horse, and I'll pick one I like. So do that, and I'll talk a little more about the horrifying Emperor Tiberius. And take a drink. So, horrifying Emperor Tiberius. He was the kind of figure that you see when this sort of thing happens. When this kind of path of tyranny kind of takes hold. When somebody does something terrible, but they're given absolute power and absolute impunity, and so they'll do things which are, first of all, horrifyingly depraved. And there's no good reason to do them. But you don't need a good reason if you can get away with literally anything. Got it. I love it. He looks like a Cinnabon. Cool. Now I got some stuff. I'm good.
All right, partner. You got yourself a deal.
Yeah, he's the kind of thing that we're talking about when Plato's talking about the tyrant. And I don't just mean, like I said, I don't just mean the political tyrant. You can have this kind of thing among perfectly non-political people if they're sufficiently powerful, if they can get away with stuff.
Here are your papers. And on me.
If they can get away with stuff, they're gonna get away with stuff, and they're gonna get away with worse and worse and worse stuff.
All right, you.
Even if a normal person, or even that person at an earlier stage of their life, would never have thought that they could ever want such a thing.
Interesting choice. How much did you pay for that thing?
Not that much.
Okay, well...
Can I brush him?
With some good care, you should be able to make something of it.
No, I can't. Okay. But this is the sort of thing where that tyranny will lead to, or being a tyrannical person. Not just, political tyranny, but being that sort of person is the kind of thing that leads to worse and worse and worse things. That's the kind of thing that leads to people like Jeffrey Epstein and everybody he associates with. Associated before he didn't kill himself, of course.
What's this lake we're heading for?
It's called O'Creagh's Run, up in the mountains east of Cumberland Falls. I just hope I can remember how to get there.
Back into the mountains? I sure didn't figure on that.
No, wait, what kind of thing?
But this time, we're doing the chasing. So how are things with you and John?
Fine.
Ain't it about time you let it go now?
It was a year, Hosea. He ditched us for a goddamn year.
I've spoken to him many times. He knows he did wrong. He just wants to put it behind him.
I'm sure he does. Running off on that kid is one thing, but there's a code. He knows that. He ain't Trelawney. Dutch and you pretty much raised him.
I know. But it's done. Has been for a while now.
Nobody else would have been welcomed back that easy after that long. And you know it.
That is incredibly ironic, given how Arthur and John develop gradually. But yeah, that is if nothing else, interesting in terms of loyalty. Because it really does speak to the point of of making an oath or taking on a bond.
I remember this place.
Right. So, if you take some kind of an oath or make a promise like this, there's more to it, obviously, than stick around for as long as you want to stick around. Because, of course, you can stick around for as long as you want to stick around, independent of any oath or promise thing. The point of a promise or an agreement to stick with people.
Where do you think Mike and Lenny got
Oh,
to?
boy.
Susan sent them out scouting, but
The point of all of that is to actually stick to it. And that's taking on an obligation to yourself.
I don't know.
Let's listen about Micah, because I actually do want to hear about him. Because he's an absolute psychopath.
Well, shouldn't have taken him this long.
No, but no point thinking the worst.
Yeah. But yeah, it's...
Look there. Rabbits. Maybe we should catch one to cook.
Sure. Try and shoot one.
You don't want to use anything too powerful on a small animal like that. Just ruin the meat.
Yeah.
Best thing's a bow or a .22 caliber varmint rifle.
I have hunted rabbits before, you know.
Yes. And obliterated them with a shotgun, if I remember right.
Damn it. I forgot that drains your stamina, but okay. But yeah, that there's a lot to taking on an oath, that kind of thing, where it confers a kind of moral obligation by taking one on. A lot of moral obligations that we talk about are the kind of thing which are just sort of innate. We have obligations to other people, depending on our circumstance and depending on ethics in general. Ah, come on. Bastards. But then we also have these sets of obligations which are taken on, right, which are chosen. We choose to take on obligations. There we go. And those do become real moral obligations, right? Just like the obligation, right? The obligation not to break an oath is basically the same kind of thing as the obligation not to kill somebody, right? It's just that by taking on the obligation, what you're doing is you're modifying... Well, there's a few theories about this. There's a few moral theories which typically coincide in their results, but for somewhat different reasons. Typically what you get is that... So, on one theory, it's something like...
Well, then you get it set up.
Oh, wait. Camp. Okay. Camping time. Right, so, when you take on an obligation, one of the theories, and this is the more Aristotelian theory, is that you modify your social situation. Right, you change your social relationship with other people. And based on that new social relationship, you have new obligations. In a case like this, it's you change your... Oops. You change your social circumstances into becoming a part of this group, right? And if you make yourself part of the group, what that means is that you've changed who you are and in what context you live, socially speaking. The other versions are taking on an obligation is something like a contract. Right? So what you're doing in that case is you're making an oath, and because you're making that oath, it would be wrong to violate the oath, right? And so oath taking and oath violating becomes an important aspect of moral philosophy. Just sort of on its own, apart from any social relationships. This is the model we see, especially in the Old Testament. Another version, and this is more based in a few different ethical theories, but primarily in care ethics and in I can't do ammo. Damn. Care ethics and even like certain deontological theories. It's that by making a promise, what you've done is you have put somebody in a dependent position, right? So you've told somebody that I will do such and such. I'll help you in this way. They come to rely on that. And by withdrawing your help, you're harming them because you're either preventing them from finding help in another way because they wouldn't look for it, or you are doing something to you're taking something away from them that they have come to rely on you for.
Sure.
Right? Example of this would be like if suppose you're a clown. And you promise to go to somebody, you promise to entertain at a birthday party.
We might need to lay bait to draw 'em out.
And you decide you don't want to go today. You don't want to go to the stupid birthday party, and you don't care about the damn kids. You're going to be a bad clown today. So you break the poor kid's heart. If you hadn't made the promise, the kid would have been fine, right? Because the parents either wouldn't have promised a clown or would have gotten a different one. Right. So
I hope you know what you're talking about.
You're reneging on your promise in this case. What that would mean there is that you are now responsible for hurting the kid, right? And pretty directly in this case.
Pack up and we'll get going.
All right.
Pack up, Arthur.
So that is another theory of promise making. You got another one, which is the more economic contractual theory, and this is more or less Rothbardian. So from Murray Rothbard and others who have worked in that same kind of tradition. You'll find it's something like so any contract is something like an exchange of property. And it can be an exchange of property in the present, or it can be an exchange of property in the future. So a contract or an agreement to do something in the future is just a contract to give what one will have. So what you're doing is you're giving away the right to something that you will own in the future. And if it's the case of something like John's situation, he's giving the right to his protection services or whatever else he does for the gang in the future. And so by going back on the contract, what he's done is he has stolen, effectively, this is kind of imprecise, but he's effectively stolen those goods that he effectively gave.
Maybe we can all have a new start. Anyway,
so there are a bunch of theories about what kinds of obligations there are when it comes to promise making, contracts, covenants, that kind of thing.
Easy.
I tend to take something like, if you're wondering, something like a combination of the last one I was mentioning, and the change of social relations theory. So the more Aristotelian one. Their poop. Paw prints. Look at that.
They sure look big enough.
Good. Let's hope it's him. Can you tell which way he went?
This way.
Supposed to get a gun? I don't know if I should be hunting this massive bear with a pistol. It's probably fine. Hosea is not going to die right this soon, right? Nah, I'm sure it's okay. I'm going this way.
Tracks. Go into those trees.
Gotta say, I am very thankful for the Assassin's Creed series for introducing the concept of the eagle eye kind of thing. It's a great game mechanic that so many people have copied since then. I think it was Assassin's Creed that originated, but I don't know. A legendary animal is basically a big trophy creature that's just typically absurdly massive. So in this case, we're hunting the biggest bear in the world, or something. We're basically just hunting a massively huge fish. Or not a fish, that's a fish. We're hunting a massively huge bear. And so it's a legendary creature. Part of what that means is that, you know, it's a big, challenging thing. The other part of what that means is that you can, if you kill it, you can use the parts, and you can use its pelt and stuff for legendary gear. So I mentioned the big ridiculous bear hat at some point. Well, there's a big ridiculous bear hat. It is the head of a bear that goes. It fits onto your head. There it is. That looks like poop.
Something else on the ground.
It's poop. I was right. It's poop. But yeah, it's one of those things where you can get. It's mostly a thing to get legendary equipment, but it's also achievement hunting if you want to, or you know, if Arthur Morgan is the kind of guy who would want the eternal glory of hunting down the biggest and most dangerous bear who ever bared the grizzlies, because these are the Grizzly Mountains.
Looks like the trail ends here. We lost him?
For now. A little optimism, Arthur.
Well, what do you think?
I think we split up and each look.
Either that or we could place bait here.
That could work. Which do you think?
Let's not split up, gang.
Let's
I don't think
here.
Arthur's dumb.
Fine by me. Let's leave the bag over there. By those boulders up ahead, looks like a good spot for
I think I heard a bear during that conversation. I didn't want to interrupt. I also think I just heard an elk, which I think is bear prey. So that's nice. Oh, right there. Yeah, and isn't grizzly just doesn't it just mean bear in some Native American language that I don't remember which.
More or less. Big scar.
So grizzly bear is just bear.
Hey, did that bait look okay?
It's something Canadian, I think.
I think so. You're the expert.
Ready with your gun there?
I'm good.
What? No, I'm not.
You seem nervous.
So do you.
It's not good.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm realizing I should have taken something other than a pistol.
Let's just take a look at that bait.
Sure.
Poor not Hosea.
You only
no.
just said it, Jose.
I know, but we need to do this right.
Can I have one of those elephant guns?
Give me a hand here. Got your knife? Easy.
That's a bear, right?
No, it's too close.
Okay, then.
You're fine, old man.
Of course I'm fine. It's nothing.
I didn't maul him, at least.
Thank you. I think. That was fun.
You know what, Arthur Morgan? I'm a little old and beaten up to be after the biggest game. You can have this.
What is it?
It's a map. A man in a bar gave it to me. Well, I stole it from him, but that's another story. He said it
Here's all the legendary
where
animals.
to find some real big animals.
I really hope it's
You saved
not.
my life, Arthur.
Oh wait, no. Okay, oh, never mind. Okay, wait. I was thinking that the bear was
my wounds.
her mother,
You come
and
in
it was, but not the bear you were talking about.
Track
So
that monster.
okay, that
Well,
was. I'm gonna stay and hunt a bear.
I'm gonna stick around.
I'm gonna hunt a
for
super
while.
bear. Can I have the rifle?
I'll see you back at camp.
Can I have the super rifle? No, I can't. Darn. I thought he was going to give me the nice rifle. I'm definitely not staying here with the weapons I have, which are a bow and a repeater. Do I have any gentlemen? I do. Look at that. I need that. But yeah, no, I'm not gonna stick around for this. I was wrong. I'm gonna leave.
Let's go, girl.
I'm gonna come back later. Alright, what do I want to do? Not try desperately to fight a bear and then die. I'm gonna go all the way the hell back. Alright, we have a long ride, so. Oh, not money lending and other sins. Oh no, not that one. Alright, I'll decide when I get there. For now, let's do cinematic. I was going to say, let's do cinematic camera, but then I got off my horse. There we go. Oh god, I hear it. I think. I better go. Anyway. What the hell? Who's that? Oh, is this that herbs guy? Herbs.
I hope you ain't looking for gold, partner. I ain't seen so much as a fleck round here.
Well, good luck to you.
Oh, that's it? Okay, never mind.
Hey, give me some goddamn space here, will you?
Okay. I'll leave. I didn't mean to. Anyway, listen, about the O'Driscolls. That guy seemed to be a nice fella until he wasn't. So, yeah. Also, I didn't draw on him, so there, and I wasn't planning to. Yeah, I really should be hunting my way back, but whatever. I'll just let it, I'll just let this play. Alright. Good boy, Cinnabon. Actually, is it a boy? I don't actually remember. If we get a good angle, they sure did do a good job of rendering the horse anatomy in this game. That was such this bizarre. One of the most bizarre things that was a big selling point of this game was they animated the horse's parts. Good for them. Glad they took the time to do that, I guess. Anyway, so it still is escaping me what I was wanting to talk about in class, but there was something that was related to this that I really wanted to talk about. Damn. It had to do with the, is it a girl? Yeah, I think so. I haven't gotten a good enough look. Yeah, I know it had something to do with Anselm. It was something to do with what we were talking about today, so... it was something about inclinations to willing, or maybe inclination to willing. Maybe it was impediments to choice or constrained situations, maybe. I did talk about that last week, and that was always a good discussion about the ethics of any given situation, right? So if you're forced into a situation that you don't have a choice in, that means that you're because your options are constrained by an outside force, then the outside force is imputed with some of the responsibility for what's going on. So it's not entirely your fault. And yet still, you're responsible for the particulars of the action in any case. So, you know. So in cases where, you know, why this is, I mean, this is pretty obviously relevant to Arthur. Because, damn, if he isn't constantly placed in terrible situations, I'll tell you. I know it might have had something to do with the theme of redemption, and that was one of the things I was wanting to talk about anyway, so here we go. I've been talking about, as I've been talking about Anselm, talking about on freedom of choice. And those of you who aren't in class, feel free to check out the the lectures I posted on it, so feel free to look at those. Otherwise, though, yeah, it's the question of redemption, the question of turning away from errant desires and from a non-upright will that presumably a criminal like Arthur has. Turning back to desiring the right thing, it's impossible, kind of. So Anselm thinks that it is impossible for a non-upright will, so a will that is enslaved to temptation or enslaved to sin, for it to recover on its own, for it to freely choose to do the good for the good's sake, for the sake of the good. But I think this might illustrate some possible exceptions to that sort of thing. Because we see throughout the game, and if you take the honorable route, which I think we're probably gonna for the most part, Arthur certainly, and even some of the others, kind of turn things around a bit, and they're no longer simply outlaws. So Arthur wants, again, I'm kind of playing as Arthur, so I'm shaping this, but... Alright, so Arthur is gradually turning things around, without any kind of miraculous intervention, without any kind of radical change, even. Except for that one thing, but we'll get to the one thing. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If not, I don't want to spoil it. But how does he do that, right? Because, I mean, Pascal has this point. I mean, not Pascal. Anselm has this point, and I think he's pretty right. That once you're turned away from doing the right thing, your chances of turning things around to suddenly do the right thing again go pretty close to zero, if not to zero, right? Because you no longer have an inclination towards the good. You are now, at this point, you are turned away from the good entirely. I'm going to turn this into camp. They need meat. And so, simple habituation isn't going to do it. Right? Because you can't change your habit if you have no inclination to change. And why would he have an inclination to change? Back here. So we can ask that, right? So, well, something does happen. Something pretty dramatic happens to change his outlook on things. But it's also coming about and seeing... There's a gunshot. What's that? Seeing new information. Because if you see new information, what that can do is that can give you new and different motivations for action. It can give you... hold on a second. I need a tonic.
Would you be interested in some friendly competition?
Heck yeah.
I've come all the way north from Mexico to challenge a real American gunslinger. You him?
Heck yeah.
Hey,
Alright, I need to focus for a minute and I'll come back
gunslinger?
to this.
Let's find out.
Okay, man. That's what I like to hear. Look, man, rules are simple, okay? Whoever shoots more of these bottles wins. Just draw your gun and aim when you're ready. All right? Shoot!
Are you kidding me?
Haha, yes! Damn it all! How the hell did you beat me, huh?
Mad skills. Real American gunslinger, that's why.
That didn't make me happy at all. How about we raise the stakes, huh?
Alright, let's do it.
Aha, that's a good call, amigo.
First time through this game, I was always
Alright, real simple. First one to hit 4 flying birds wins.
I was always surprised that this didn't turn around and he never just decided to shoot you at some point.
Come out, it's anyone's shot. Be patient.
I'm gonna deadeye, so I'm gonna cheat.
There they go. Shoot!
What the hell? where the hell are the rest of them? Oh, there we go. There we go. That was close. I'm not very good at
you
that.
can shoot, huh? Here it is, okay? Man of my word.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Sure. Better watch out next time. You'll see.
I'm gonna go grab those birds because those are useful. Anyway, yeah, it's Can I even get to that? Anyway, so what I was saying, is that at least potentially, we can say that Arthur gets, gets new information. Right, so it's not just that. It's not just that, God can miraculously convert your will. He can grant you the opportunity to regain rectitude. Maybe that's the case, and we'll look at how that might work, etc. Right? Fine. But the mechanics of what we're talking about here could also be a matter of a massive change, right? A change in perception, a change in attitude, whatever it might be, that leads to new desires or new appetites or new what would it be called? Evaluating the situation, maybe in a new, novel sort of way. Wait a minute. Oh, it's an eagle. Wow. Actually, I need the feathers for that to make something. Anyway, so if that's the case, if you can gain new affections and that makes all the difference, then it is possible, at least in some circumstances, to sort of turn one's will around, if you want, turn one's life around. But it might take something dramatic, and there are a lot of dramatic things that happen over the course of this story. So it's certainly essentially what we'd have to talk about, what we would have to point out, is that what is happening in a case like this is not just that Arthur's deciding to change, but there has to be something happening to him that is allowing him to gain the new perspective to change. Right? And that's what allows him to effectively repent, and ultimately to kind of steal the title of the game, to redeem himself. Oops. I don't want that. I don't. Yeah, that's what ultimately I think makes the difference between the kind of Pelagian sense that we can sort of save ourselves. We can turn our will around. We can reconvert ourselves to the right thing on our own. Or by contrast, that it takes something from the outside of us in order to be able to make that kind of change. Of course, the question still remains open as to whether we can do that if that strictly requires supernatural grace.
Okay, Mr. Morgan.
I want to give you a deer.
Be off that mountain, Mr. Pearson?
Yes,
can't,
indeed.
can I?
Lots to do now. Yeah, for all of us.
I have to go over here then. And if it does, we can say that, you know, it may be.
You know, these hides and furs can also be done up into coats and boots and such. Beyond my skills, but there's a trapper that travels around these parts, Canadian feller, skilled tanner. He can make just about anything. You should drop in on him sometime.
Okay, I'll keep my eye out for him.
Very
All right.
good. We were getting low.
Great. That'll do. I'll sell a bunch of the rest of the stuff.
Thank you, Arthur.
Anyway. Yeah, what I was saying. It may be that we are capable of doing the right thing in at least some sense. And we're capable of sort of being changed so that we there. That'll do. Just a little bit. Actually, I can afford more than that.
Only when I see you. Only when I see you.
There. That's better. So the if you want the trouble is, right, with the idea that you can just sort of transition yourself into becoming better, is that you are in no way in control of these circumstances, right? So you can't depend on that in the same way that you can depend on your will. You can depend on your will to maintain rectitude, like Anselm is insistent about. Right? So Anselm is repeatedly insisting that we can depend on our own will to maintain rectitude of the will, right? To keep doing and desiring the right thing. Once we are inclined to the right thing. But if we're not inclined to the right thing, if we are morally corrupt, like clearly somebody like Arthur is, the problem then becomes if you are... I'm going to talk to Karen. You can then, in order to turn around, you have to come about and you have to get new impulses, new desires, new affinities. Right? Your will has to be attracted to new objects. It needs to start actually seeing the good as good again. That's very difficult. So
I ain't cleaned myself
we'll look at.
weeks.
I'm gonna antagonize him.
You got some speaking to do of your own. Not that old gang of yours.
I said
It's the difference between this,
I don't know nothing.
having the choice between threatening or antagonizing the guy who's been tied up for weeks, you know, and eventually wanting to redeem himself completely, right, and trying very hard to do so, and seeing that redemption is worth pursuing.
They ain't no friends of mine.
No.
I just ridden with them for a while.
Horseshit. You see, we heard that part, so how about you tell the truth? That's what you want me to do.
Anyway.
Hurt him, so the next time he opens his mouth, it is to tell us what is going on.
Who am I kidding? One of O'Driscoll's boys couldn't open his mouth, but he'd tell a lie. Screw it. Let's just have some fun. Geld him.
Yeah. What's he doing? Where's he going?
Oh, don't worry. You're only balls, boy. Just gonna cause you trouble. You know, in Imperial Rome, eunuchs was among the happiest and most loyal of courtiers.
No, you kidding me, right?
Of course.
You sick bastards! Oh, what do you want from me?
Well, you are gonna talk. The only question is now or after we got these little fellas off.
Okay, listen. I know where O'Driscoll's holed up, and you're right. He don't like you any more than you like him. He's at 6 Point Cabin. I'll take you there. Serious. I don't like him. I mean, I like him even less than I like you.
None taken. Okay then, partner.
I'm gonna want to talk about that. That's
us up there right now.
another interesting, relevant point.
Should be fun. All right, you. Come on. Let's go.
Yeah, so typically, so that actually brings up a good point, right? This kind of brings us back to Anselm. Typically, you don't have a choice between yes and no with respect to a single thing. Typically, what you have is a choice between two different options. Right? If that's the case, if you can choose between option A and option B, a lot of the time it does come down to something like lesser of two evils or greater of two wants. Right? Do I want this or that more? In this case, who am I more afraid of? Am I more afraid of Dutch or am I afraid of Colm O'Driscoll? Right? And if that is the case, right, if it's a matter of choosing between A or B, right, what that means is that you've got multiple inclinations, and your will is going to be choosing between the two of them. And if the will is free, if we have real genuine freedom of choice, what that means is that this choice is going to be not simply determined by which desire is stronger. Because if that's all it is, then we're not free. Right? We're causally determined by, if only by our desires. By contrast, if we are genuinely free, as long as we have some inclination towards both, right? So, you know, if you can choose between...
You got throwing knives in your saddlebag.
So if you can choose between helping Dutch, if you can choose between betraying O'Driscoll or helping Dutch, and helping Dutch, or shutting up and keeping loyal, I guess, keeping loyal without balls. In a case like that, right? So the choice is, which do you prefer? Which of the two do you want more? And if that is the case, if it's a matter of which do you want more,
Take this track up through the rocks.
as long as you have an inclination to both, even if that inclination is minimal, if you have some inclination to both options, then the will can spontaneously, freely choose between the two of them.
Abigail wouldn't let me up.
I'm gonna have a bit of food.
You know her. She won't be reasoned with.
And if that's the case, right? If you can freely decide like this, if you can spontaneously make the choice, part of that difference there, part of the difference that makes is that.
But I fear you don't know how to help anyone. Except in yourself. See, O'Driscoll?
We'll come back to this because John's mad still.
Imagine what he does to his enemies.
I got an inkling of what y'all do to your enemies.
So this actually has a little bit to do with. This has a lot to do with what we were just talking about a bit ago too, right? So we were just talking about how you might need to gain a new, acquire a new inclination. And so it's not just a matter of changing your mind, right? Changing between two conflicting desires, right? That anybody can do, right? That anyone can do freely. What becomes difficult and what becomes what needs a fundamental change, what needs a dramatic event, or what needs possibly even a miracle, is to gain a new inclination that one did not previously have. So if you are in fact free to choose between two alternatives, then that's fine. I mean, that's up to the will. It's up to free choice.
You've been tied to a tree. You don't know nothing.
But if it's a matter of getting a new inclination, then we have to look at whether that's possible. It's a matter of seeing something as desirable that you hadn't previously seen as desirable.
You're outlawed like them?
In Arthur's case, in the case of redemption, it's seeing the good as such, right? Benefiting people for their own sake, that sort of thing, as eminently desirable when it otherwise hadn't been.
See? This is why you're an O'Driscoll, O'Driscoll. You're out to survive. We're out to live. Free. Watch it, you big lout. Cole's a sneak thief.
That's straight out of Oscar Wilde, too, which really, again, speaks to the era.
Teacher.
From where I've been, you just look the same as all.
Then you looked, but you ain't seen. John, shut that boy up. Enough out of you. Boss, we're almost on them. Now,
Yeah, also, I mean,
Who knows if this son of a bitch
looking and not
is
seeing.
talking true, but
Another
if it's
point
what
there
he
of
says it is,
that kind of illustrates what I was talking about with the difference between perceiving something, like being able to see, having the inclination to see, or even having the inclination to understand, right? The facts all being there and grasping all the facts, and then separately actually having the active thought of putting it all together.
if we do, we move quick and hard. Settle this like we know how, okay?
Okay by me.
With you, Morgan.
All right, then.
Through the trees here.
Yeah, this I will say this is very much a.
Hey, we're real close. I'd leave your horses the other side of this clearing.
There's the kind of yeehaw Skyrim joke, but this is very much a. This is very much an RPG. There we go. This is very much a role-playing game. It has a lot of these, a lot of the kind of character maintenance aspects. You know, Arthur gets hungry, Arthur gets sleepy, Arthur gets stinky, and I love that people react to you differently. Whether you're looking healthy or if you're covered in mud or anything like that.
I said easy.
All right. All right, knife time. I guess. I don't know why I don't use a bow. It's also quiet, but whatever. I'll let them make the decisions for me. Yeah.
Follow me, all right? It ain't far.
We might have shared a horse, but we ain't friends. Remember, I'm watching you. Every moment.
I ain't gonna shop you now. Come on. It'd be suicide.
There's a squirrel.
Boy. But you lose your balls first. Jesus Christ.
Not that. I want... Yes.
For the rich.
I'd like some Deadeye.
Okay, get down.
Real sneaky like.
There'll be a bunch of fellers hiding out there too.
Are these fellas armed?
Armed? Drunk? Wary of strangers, yup.
And Colm O'Driscoll?
Oh, he'll be holed up in his cabin. Be passed out, booze blind, likely as not.
Hey, over there. Someone's coming.
So, who's gonna tell him we ain't got nothing for the pot?
Oh, let me think. The fellow that spooked the game, I reckon.
I'm gonna drain it. I'll catch up.
No, we ain't gonna fall for that. We're gonna wait so you can tell him yourself. Yeah. If anyone's actually gonna shoot the messenger, it'd be that mean son of a bitch.
Yes, sir.
Come on, shake it off.
Thumbs up.
What are we doing about the pisser, Morgan? One by the tree.
I'll do it.
I'm gonna deal with this first, fella.
I don't trust Bill to do anything.
The next two. What's the plan?
Let's get close to these two. Make no mistakes here.
That's what the knife's for.
When we're there, we move at the same time.
Just
What the hell is this?
Where you wanna...
Down to the camp!
Oh, okay, well. That didn't work well. What? Anyway, so this whole situation really brings up the question of whether this is whether this is really about getting away or if this is about revenge. Right? And if it's about a grudge, if this is about revenge, that makes it a very, very different situation, both practically and ethically. Right? So if I'm shooting all these folks because we as the gang want to get away, want to get free. That's a kind of self-defense, albeit a kind of distant one, I guess. I don't know how fair that is, but it's still a kind of self-defense. And so maybe it's justifiable, or maybe it's something, not exactly, but analogous to just war theory. And if that's the case, if there is this, if there is really this this justification for it, that's very different from if Dutch is mad at Colm O'Driscoll because something about his love interest, I guess, who Colm killed at one point. That becomes, you know, that just becomes a quest for revenge, which is not helping anybody. And of course, it's not just not helping anybody. It is, it's hurting the people who are pursuing revenge by bringing additional heat on them, by making things more difficult in general. Damn it! There we go. And so it's not just that it's, you know, violent and all that, but it's also counterproductive. And you don't want extra trouble when you're running away from Pinkertons or anything else like that. Alright, let's loot everything while I continue talking and catch up with the chat. I don't want a new hat. I don't want a new hat. I want your money. 120 times. Gent Cheeto says, I played Red Dead 2 probably 120 times, literally, and nothing to do is different from the last playthrough except for the ending and moral choices in the story. This is only my second full playthrough, and I was pretty completionist last time. I also I have watched a stream of the game, so I've watched somebody else play the whole thing up until the epilogue. I didn't actually watch through the epilogue, so I saw that for the first time actually playing it. I don't want cover. But before then, yeah, you're kind of right. It's more or less kind of samey. I do feel like though, and maybe this just kind of speaks to the immersion, or maybe this just kind of speaks to, you know, how I play games and that sort of thing, what I like about it. But there is the game is long enough, and there's enough various different stuff that even though I just finished a playthrough of this a month or two ago, this feels not quite novel, but it's not repetitive. It's not like this for me was so long ago that it's not like I'm just doing it all over again, and it doesn't feel, you know, old and something I've just done a million times already kind of thing. Because to be fair, I did only do it once, but at the same time, you are kind of right. It's the same thing, but the length of the game is I feel like to me that makes enough of the difference, so that it's it happened long enough ago, even if you play it damn near back to back, that it is it retains some of the novelty. Although I can see how it could get old after a lot of playthroughs. I also, it's worth noting, I more than anything else, especially playing a game, but also, you know, any kind of literature, broadly speaking, the thing I like more than anything else is world building. And this world feels very, very carefully constructed. There's a lot here going on. With all of just the things happening in the background, a lot of which I apparently missed entirely, I am told. So we will probably see some things that I will be, you know, surprised by. But yeah, that's those are my sort of my maybe disorganized thoughts on Red Dead. There's a lot to it, but there's a lot to the game to experience even more than once. But I guess I can see that there aren't, especially major story elements, there's not a lot that changes even based on what decisions you make. I guess I could, hypothetically, Darius, I could ban you, but I don't see why.
Sure. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, so...
Driscoll. He ain't here.
Okay.
You set us up. Come here! What? You set us up.
No, I didn't.
As far as I'm concerned, my chat is more or less open.
He was here, I swear.
Why?
If I was setting you up, I wouldn't have saved your life.
It's a good point, Arthur.
All right, then, go on. Get out of here.
Hey?
I won't kill you.
I didn't set you up.
Get lost.
Get lost.
I'm letting you run away. Now go on. Get out of here.
That's as good as killing me. Out there, without you, Colm O'Driscoll's gonna lose his mind about this.
So?
So I'm one of you now.
Give me a break. All right, then. But I'm warning you.
Oh, hey, I know.
Come on, let's get to camp.
So you got the cash, then?
What cash?
Yeah, there's usually some cash in the chimney.
Handy.
I'll check it.
Yeah, so the, yeah, the, so,
I ain't so bad.
Mrs. McCoy,
tell Dutch
your comment on the
Just
RimWorld incest stuff. Yeah, you would think that a game that is so involved with intergenerational colony building would have something about that. You know, they might have a fix for that. Or somebody had made a mod to fix it. That too. But even if not, I mean, I would almost expect something like a setting where you can say, you know, how many generations out is acceptable in your society. I don't know, because a lot of societies have that as a very specific rule that X number of generations out is acceptable. So yeah, I don't know, or even just, you know, have a number programmed into the game that closer than certain relation is they're not gonna automatically produce more multi-eyed colonists. Yeah. At least one would hope. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of games that don't have an incest filter that might be able to use them. I'm reminded of PewDiePie playing Minecraft, where Sven and Sven's child had a baby. I forget if the child or Sven's son was named Deep, but one of them was named Deep, and that was also awful. And it was because he completely forgot what he was doing. So, yeah, sure, why not? Shotgun. I need to polish it. It's rusty as hell. I'm not doing a speed run. I am not skilled at speed runs. I'll do that. Yeah. I'm not skilled at speedruns. I don't know the game too well to do it. And also, I'm more relaxed and interested in just wanting to talk about in the commentary and talking about philosophy and talking about what comes up and that kind of thing, more than running through it. So the game is here primarily to sort of give us things to talk about more than anything else. Hey. I'm curious about how fast you could do a speed run in this game, because I've never done anything like a speed run of Red Dead, and I can't imagine what that could possibly be like. Because I mean, it seems like to me that I don't have enough of this. It seems like to me that because I've only played it with basically not quite 100%ing the game, but very close to it. And so it feels like it's absurdly long, but that's probably because of the a lot of the bonus content, that sort of thing. Hey, look, there's a new bounty. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I had to mute and sneeze. Got it. There. Oh, yeah, true. You can do that. I wonder how fast you can actually get through this. I am a little curious as to how quickly that a speedrun can be done of a game like Red Dead. Because it's one of those that feels absurdly long, like I was saying, but that's probably mostly because of the side content. So if you just rush the story missions and you ignore a lot of the side content, I'm sure it would go a hell of a lot quicker. Just because you'd skip a lot of things, right? The length of the game really comes in the side quests and the character stuff. And I'll also say, not just the length of the game, but honestly, a lot of what makes the game the great kind of RPG that it is comes from the world, which is just full of a lot of stuff going on. Oh, I need to slow down. Full of a lot of stuff going on. And like I said, that's kind of that's mostly the thing I like about most games, especially RPGs. It's the kind of immersive world sort of thing. And really, that's kind of what I like about 13 hours. God, that is long for a speed run. Holy crap. Okay, I stand a little bit corrected. I guess that's really long. I did not realize that I honestly figured it would be something in the realm of like 4 or 5. And I'm gonna go talk to veteran guy first. He wants a nickel. You back? Yeah, there we go. Here's our friend.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, mister. I never learned your name. I never did. You're like a brother, but I didn't learn your name. And I said to myself, Mickey...
Oh, so yeah, okay, I guess including the epilogue too, because the epilogue is a lot of just story missions, so that's fair. And it has a lot of, like, required long cutscenes and things you can't skip, so that makes sense. There'd be some extra time in there. For at least an hour or so. Even if it's just unskippable cutscenes and things. So that's fair. That makes sense.
Uncle's name was Arthur. Uncle Arthur, we called him, on account of his name.
Love this guy.
It's a fine name. A strong name. Like a king. You could be my king, Mr. Arthur. Yes, you could.
Thanks. Yeah, actually, that kind of brings up a point, right? So I like talking about world building and stuff as well. So this kind of ties in with narrative structure stuff I was wanting to talk about.
Look here, you want to catch another cinder bounty hunter?
Yes,
Take a gander at the poster there.
Yeah, it's only $25, but okay.
Nasty individual.
Oh, hey, this is the Black Widow. Matricide. Interesting. So she killed her mom. This is the Black Widow. She also killed her mom, and I guess the Black Widow implies she's already killed a husband or two. And we see her when we get to her, probably about to kill another one. Is there anything on the back? Didn't think so. Alright, let's go get her.
They say she's sleeping rough near Cumberland Falls. And what's more...
What was a bit weird, exactly? I'm not sure what you meant was weird. Let me find her on the map. It may have been a glitch because I did not notice anything particularly weird. So I'll let you fill me in on what happened at some point. In any case, I'll keep on going. Excuse me. Let's see what's up with that campsite over there. I wonder if it's friendly. Oh yeah, that's that guy is he's one of those kinds of people who is so incredibly nice, but that you is just so incredibly nice, but they're kind of off-putting in the way that they're nice.
I asked my boys here if they would help their pa build a new house. Thought I'd teach them a few things, you know. Couldn't hammer a nail to save their lives. Ain't that right, Curtis?
Whatever you say, Paul.
So, can I help?
Look out!
Uh-oh.
What in holy hell are you doing, boy? Get that back up again right now. I'm gonna be 100 years old by the time we get this done. No. Get away from it. Get away from it before you mess it up even worse than it is.
Can I help? Dear old dad. There.
All the best.
You
Oh.
too, friend.
No. Okay. I can just,
You don't like the way we're doing it. He should do it himself.
Alright, anyway, moving on.
Let's just enjoy the silence for a few minutes before he starts rocking us again.
So what I was saying, like I keep saying, I am a big fan of complex and immersive world building. In large part, so that's why I love most of the series, the franchises, etc. that I love. And I kind of tend to love series and franchises in proportion to the quality and the depth of their world building. And I kind of always have, and this started for me with a combination of loving both Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings, both of which are okay. Sorry, buddy. Okay, don't turn red. Anyway, Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings both have this kind of incredibly detailed and immersive and deep world building. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, you did kill their dad. That is kind of an overreaction, to say the least. But yeah, it's that's a thing that I like I said, I've always really loved, and I especially nowadays love in video games because the world building is not just something that's there. It's not just something that gives texture to the story. It's something you can live in. It's something you can interact with, and the more there is built to the world, the more real that interaction feels. So there's a huge difference there between a game which is I don't know, where the world building isn't that in depth because, you know, a lot of it's either assumed, a lot of what's going on is either assumed, or if it's just sort of left vague or left up to the player to interpret. In a world like this, where everything that's going on has texture to it, things that are going on affect other things, or at least it kind of seems that way. It's sort of made to seem that way. Oh, this guy. The poor, sad ginger.
Knows it. Hey, mister. I just want to be left alone, all right?
A sentiment I'm familiar with. Fair enough, kid.
And yet I'm not gonna leave him alone.
Hands with that dog. Come on, kid.
You care about this girl? Stand up for yourself. She'll come around.
Yeah? I've been waiting.
Trust me, kid. There ain't so many good men out there. Make yourself one of the good ones.
Thanks, mister. I hope you're right.
Alright, hey. Hopefully I gave him good advice. I probably didn't, but we'll see. Anyway. So, like I said, one of the examples I was pointing to is Tolkien. And as we probably all know, Tolkien's sort of thing was he built a world to put his languages in. Because the languages he built, so Elvish primarily the two dialects, and then to an extent even what he built of Dwarvish. I need my guns for this. There we go. Hello. You know I'm aiming at your head, right? Okay. Are you kidding me? Uh-oh. Now I feel bad. I'm very sorry, Mr. Elk. I hope that didn't piss off the bounty.
What the hell is happening here?
Damn it, you got him! That sweet, dumb son of a bitch!
I didn't even intend to do that. Yep. I'm not letting you knife me.
You are a piece of work. Now, come here.
Okay, so just, you know, just trust me. She was bad. And, oops. Whoops. Anyway, so that sucked. Anyway, so that didn't go well. Maybe I shouldn't have shot the elk repeatedly beforehand, but, oh well, whatever. So like I was saying, I'm gonna take your horse.
You manhandle me?
How about I take your horse? And I'm gonna take this and sell it. Sounds good. Add to the bounty.
Yep. Settle in. You got a ride ahead of you.
Or take it. This looks like a thoroughbred. Anyway, so what I was saying, the kinds of world building I like are, I like consistency and I like depth, right? And,
Here. Come on.
Oh dear. What came over me?
oh no, she's gonna try and...
Those things? It's a horrible blur. But I see blood. There's blood everywhere. It won't come out.
Don't lie to
I'm
me.
not like that. I'm a good girl. Really. I promise I am.
No.
You believe me, don't you?
Be quiet with that.
Well, she is what we like to call a psychopath. Anyway. I'm sorry, Mr. Elk, for shooting you repeatedly in the head. Anyway.
Help, okay?
No, you don't.
I have an illness.
This the help you're looking for?
Oh, you don't need to do that sort of thing. Like, it's YouTube. I think. I mean.
You're such a strong man.
Oh my God!
So
Stop.
Burly. Me?
I ain't falling
Stop it. But I appreciate the sub though.
I hate you, you sad sack of shit. I wish I could cut your belly open and show you your gut.
That's more like it.
Okay. I'll wait for my horse to catch up.
That's a good girl.
My actual horse. There she comes. Cinnabon, to come over here. Anyway, well, like I was saying, that's really what I liked about Star Wars back in the old expanded universe days. Before the new canon and the changes that came with it, right? Especially. And it's because more or less wherever you looked, whether that's, you know, astrographically or if that's just in terms of time or content or characters or whatever, you will always find something. Right? There's never going to be somewhere where there's just I mean, you'll find incomplete information. I was about to say that you'll never find somewhere where there's just incomplete information. It's not quite true. There is some here and there. But what you'll typically find is that there is the start of a story. There is the beginning of something. I'm going to see if this horse is worth keeping, and if so, I will name it Hershey. Sounds good to you. Sounds good to me. We have achieved bonding level 1, so that is a that sounds like a good deal. In that case, though, we I might actually keep it because Hershey's a good name for a horse, and that's this. I think this looks like a nice horse. I can't actually tell. Can I? Oh, it's another Morgan, so maybe not. Which one, Hershey or Cinnabon? Who do I keep? I'm leaning towards Cinnabon because I have this thing in Red Dead where I always keep my horse forever until it dies, and then I'm all sad. But we'll see. Unless it just doesn't like following me. That's entirely possible. Anyway. Back to what I was saying. I keep getting distracted by this damn game I'm playing, you know? Anyway. Kidding. I see you stopped playing RimWorld. I got a Steam notification. Anyway, so like I was saying, there's something about, yeah, I'll probably keep Cinnabon. There's something about world building like you find in something like Star Wars, where there is this kind of, come on, Cinnabon. Where there's this depth and this rich texture, I guess you could, is what I'd call it, to the world building, where there is a lot going on, and everything that's going on fits together, and that in part it relies on each other, but then also it fills in any kind of gaps you might have. And if that's the case, right? If it fills stuff in like this, then what? You're not getting me into this. Yeah. At that point, it feels like a real world, you know? Because if you have the real world, you're not gonna look somewhere in the real world and not find reality. And if you look somewhere in a very, very richly textured world that's built well,
You're no fun at all.
I'm afraid I ain't.
Yeah. But if you get to a world which is richly textured, if you look somewhere in it, if it's well built, what that means is that you will find something there, and that's what I always liked about Star Wars and the EU, with all the encyclopedias and all the atlases and all of the books that covered damn near everything. Yeah.
You order a lady killer here, Sheriff?
Yeah, we did. Put her in the cell, won't you?
I protest my innocence. I protest my innocence.
Too bad.
She might be a little shaken up. She lost another feller out by the falls.
Poor dear.
Men just got a habit of dying around you, don't they, Mrs. Swan?
I hope you'll be comfortable, miss.
She'll be fine. Now come get your money off the desk here.
Yeah. Yep, I'll take that payment. Great.
The Black Widow herself. This town's so starved of women, I'm sure she could find herself a husband yet.
Yeah, that's cowboy.
And I'm gonna go probably sell Hershey. I might find a good horse and name it Arthur too. That's not bad. Name my horse after myself. That seems right. That's nice and cowboyish. Anyway.
Yep.
So, and the other big thing is consistency, right? The other thing for world building is consistency. I want there to be, I want to be able to look somewhere and find something, but just like the real world, you're not going to look somewhere and you won't find contradictions in it, right? If you look at reality, you'll see reality. You won't see absurdities. I'm gonna stay away from coronavirus, man.
For that is what this country needs to help each other.
Yeah, that's what I was going to try and do, Darius. It's just, I was going to try and tie him up and whatnot. But, that didn't go well. He was already shooting at me when I came around the corner, so oops. I can only sell him for $2.
Help people. Try to do what you can.
Yeah, I'll staple it, why not? This one.
Please give money to the orphans.
Info.
Remember, it's better to give than to receive.
Alright, so this one
I'll get you switched out.
I will rename Morgan or Arthur 2. Why not? And you don't like that name, but you can deal.
Sure, we'll swap them for you.
And this one I'll name Hershey. Cool.
That's a hell of a name.
Come on, try and help people.
All right, who should I be? I'm gonna get.
Are you doing all you can? Huh? Use your.
I'm gonna get Cinnabon's affection all the way up,
To help the weak.
Let's get them switched out then.
and then
Come on, please, please, somebody, be
I'm gonna-
generous. Show you care. Come on, please.
and eventually I will. I'll switch off and get the rest of them. All right, fine. I'll talk to Mr. Winnie the Flu.
You're just full of charity, ain't you?
Well, I'm just trying to help where I can, sir.
Or interfere.
You would have killed that man.
What I'll do is none of your damn business, okay?
Okay, okay. Okay, sir. Give more! Please!
Okay.
Prove we ain't a land of savages! Prove we're here for each other!
Blew through here not too long ago.
So in any case, I always really like the world building in the Star Wars extended universe, especially in a lot of things like the encyclopedias and the setting guides and things like that. Because wherever you looked, you'd find something, right? And just like the real world, like I was saying. The other thing, another setting right now that I really love because of that, and a set of a game series, in fact, one that I'm probably going to play on here is the Mass Effect series.
Don't think I've seen you around here before.
Because the Mass Effect series is very much like this, because they also had they had a lot of the. Let me see what I can do here. Nope, not that. All right, so of our limited Old West options, what do we think? Any preference? While I talk about this, so one of the things I'm talking about. One of those.
Trust a man with a beard.
Hmm.
Might be something to it, I reckon.
That's rude, buddy. Anyway. So what I was thinking about, right? So Mass Effect has a reputation for this.
More goddamn shots. More goddamn prissy women.
It's got a reputation for having all of the various planets that you can even you can see, not even just the ones you can visit, but have descriptions written for all of them, which is pretty absurd because there's a lot of planets that are made out, that are filled in. That's one of those things that I really like about it. Now I'll say that, and here I go talking about the thing that is, I guess, probably the most common thing to talk about on YouTube today. The new Star Wars canon is less careful about this kind of stuff. it's a lot less careful when it comes to consistency of canon. See the middle part. Middle parted.
My time? Man, it was goddamn men.
Shorter, longer.
You ain't men, the whole lot of you. Look at you.
I like middle parted typically.
You ain't even women. You're.
I might, and that actually sounds like a good idea, and he's also an asshole. But anyway, move on. Move on. After I get my hair cut, I'll see what I can do. Yeah, I like middle parted.
I'm tempted to gouge my eyes out.
Let's
do that.
For a stand no nonsense man.
I wouldn't do you the dignity of pissing on you.
All right, how about facial hair? What do we want to do for this?
Oh God, I can't
Nah.
believe this dump is coming to.
I can't do the flying fork. I'm so disappointed. I love the flying fork. I hope he's not leaving. I'm going to see if he's leaving. I'll come back. Think about mustache and beard. See what we can do. And I'm going to go punch the guy with the fancy hat. That's just a raccoon.
I am bored of you fools.
Okay. I'm just going to leave him. All right, sounds good. Back to the haircut.
What's it to be?
You're not trim. I want a style. All right, so any of these look good? Soup savior. The pennant. That's quite a mustache. Can't do a French fork. Can't do the fork Spartan. That's always fun. All nice and outlawy. If there's any preferences on here, let me know.
Something more you're after?
Anyway. Yeah, it's so if I want to go into any detail about the new Star Wars canon, I might wind up doing that separately just because it's its own massive topic. But if that's the case, then we'll I might wind up talking about that later on. Like if I play a game, if I play a Star Wars game, that sort of thing, then I might go into it. But suffice it to say that since getting rid of the EU, that sort of thing, sure, I'll go with this. How about this Spartan? Big old mustache. Yeah, that's very Arthur Morgan. I like it.
Thank you. Looks okay.
And I need to wash my damn face. I'm disgusting, so probably gonna give it a bath. Anyway, though, can I still punch him? I can't, can I? Damn, it's too late. Sorry, it's too late by the time I got to him. Damn. In any case, but yeah, that's one of my big things when it comes to just about any fiction is that I want a well-built world to sort of fit together and for the story to fit itself into. All right. Could go all the way down there to Black Bell, but I'm not going to. Dutch has got something he wants. All right, either way, I'm going to go back to camp. Either for Dutch or for Strauss.
How's it going?
Come on, girl.
Okay, Cinnabon. Let's go.
Hey, let's talk about this. Arthur, come lend a hand here.
What's happening?
Go ahead and call your mama for all I
care. Nobody.
Take it easy. I got lumbago.
That drunk's got mean friends, believe me.
Oh, hell. Wasting my time anyway.
Oh, I appreciate it, Arthur.
No sense of humor, the fellers around here. How drunk were you? Just normal drunk. Anyway, I should probably hit the breeze. I'll be at camp if you need me.
Oh, Uncle. Alright, let's see. What is, who's this guy?
He ain't a bad feller, all things considering.
That man's head's going soft in his old age. You better watch out for him.
Hi, Darius. I am very sorry. I can't. I tried. I went up to him, and because he apparently already passed out and fell asleep, it wouldn't let me punch him. So, nothing I can do. I missed the chance. I'll fix that. I'm gonna feel the view's wrong.
Okay, girl.
Alright. So, moving right along, we'll see what we can do here. Hey, listen, calm down. I mean, I'm not... First of all, like I said, I'm taking the gameplay as a way of talking about stuff and not taking it so seriously. So, if you're looking for very serious interactive gameplay, I'd suggest a different stream, quite honestly. I'm more here for, like I said, talking about things, talking about interesting subjects that come up, that sort of deal. In terms of, also worth noting, I have a pretty high latency on here just to try and keep the replayability up, replayability of the stream up. So I hear you, I see your guys' comments, and then the stream lags behind by about 30 seconds. So I'm not exactly able to respond to you guys in real time. Just letting you know this so that there's not a miscommunication here with different things that different people are wanting. So sorry if that's not what you're looking for, but that is my intention for the stream. Like I said, my goal here is I want to talk about philosophy and stuff, and the game is mostly just to facilitate that kind of conversation, you know. In fact, I'm probably thinking about it. I might. Now that I've been mentioning Mass Effect, I'm probably going to next week, time permitting, I will pick up and start the Mass Effect series, so I can have a couple of series going on here.
Gave me a message for you.
Oh.
He said when it was convenient to head into Emerald Ranch.
Okay.
He's looking at a few business things there.
Okay.
Oh, he'll find something too. He always does. Will you be well now, Mr. Morgan?
I'm always well, Miss Grimshaw.
Matthews. Who's Matthews? I forget who that is. Alright.
Dutch? Miss O'Shea?
Well,
so,
feels like we're finally getting back on our feet.
You find a buyer for them bonds we stole?
Not yet, but Jose is working on it.
When we heading west?
Soon? I don't know.
Feels like things have changed. The whole world's changed. But they don't want folk like us no more. We're being hunted.
We are smarter than them. Only the feeblest of men take jobs in the government.
I hope so.
Trust Dutch, Mr. Morgan. You have to.
They got Micah! Dutch!
Oh yeah, it's this one.
They got
Okay.
Micah.
Yeah,
He's been
not.
arrested for murder. He was in Strawberry.
It's not Micah again.
They nearly lynched me. They got Micah and the sheriffs in Strawberry, and there's talk of hanging him.
Here's open. Arthur, what? The fool brought this on himself. You know my feelings about him, Dutch.
You think I can't see past his bluster to the heart inside? He is a fine man.
No, I ain't saving that fool.
I can't go. My face will be all over West Elizabeth. I am asking. He would do it for you.
I don't think he would, but fine, all right.
Arthur.
You okay, Lenny?
Yeah, of course I'm okay.
You don't seem okay.
You take that kid into town. Valentine, not Strawberry. Get him drunk. And Arthur, no crazy business.
I've given that up.
And you get Micah out of that jail.
Okay, drunk time.
Come on, son. I'll get to it, Dutch. Just can't drop everything.
Yeah, this really speaks to one of my favorite themes in Red Dead, and really in westerns in general. And I talked about this a little last time, but I can kind of expand on it more now. It's this the encroachment of civilization on the uncivilized. And you might call it uncivilized too. You might call it uncivilized, but they've got their own sort of, I guess, micro-civilization. You have a little group of people who work together. They've got a society that we were talking about earlier with the covenant community kind of thing.
I kept asking him what we was doing, but he was...
And what we have is the society. The larger overall society. The society which is represented by the government, which has an organized and codified system of laws, but not just an organized codified system of laws, but a universal one. And one that's supposed to apply to everybody, everywhere, that sort of thing. The centralization impulse.
Couldn't even tell you quite how.
But you got folks like Dutch in the gang, and you got folks like, well, basically everybody you encounter in this game who's not a Pinkerton, who want to do things their own way, because that's what the West is about, at least, in the mythology like this. And it's the same centralizing versus scattering impulse that you see that's really at the root of most political disagreements. You get the centering impulse, which is fundamentally urban. It's fundamentally progressive. It is forward-looking. It's centralizing. It's orderly. It is keeping things together and making sure that things are homogeneous. Which has its good aspects, right? All of those are at least on the surface good things, but at the same time they also have a dark side to them, and that dark side can be very, very significant. That can be very dangerous. That homogenizing influence can be deadly. It can lead to the impulse of destroying anything that doesn't fit in, that doesn't belong, that's in any way errant. Right? It can destroy the outsider rather than by trying to bring it in, rather than drawing on the experience of the outsider. It's the orderly and centralizing impulse. By contrast, you've got the outside. You've got the margin. You've got the cowboy, the outlaw, and not just that, but you also have the groups of any given group of people that you see around this game. You got the people in this saloon. You got the people living in this little town in the middle of nowhere. You got anybody, like I said, who's not a Pinkerton, and you see that there's so many different places with different kinds of people that are trying to be pulled under one kind of rule. And the problem there, the problem with that side is, of course, when it starts being violent and it starts being destructive and all of that stuff. I mean, the outlaw kind of problem. But at the same time, you have the kind of, you can call it diversity, right?
He'll be fine. Have one for yourself.
You can call it diversity. You can call it, I don't know. Yeah.
Micah seemed to know a lot of people. That was the problem.
How you mean?
Smallness in general, it's the
crazy stuff, but Micah... crazy stuff. Will you shut up?
But this is a problem we see. This is a big problem that we see in terms of tensions that'll develop in terms of just about any political situation. And I think
You're a charming
I love this. I love this scene, so I'm gonna wrap this point up. I'm actually what I'll do is I'll put in the description once this goes to publication. I'll put in the description here, and I'll post on the Facebook page a couple of links to some videos on this subject by Jonathan Pageau, who I've mentioned before. He's the symbologist who talks about this kind of center margin contest. But then again, the way I've described it is a little different. So maybe after the drunk sequence, I'll talk about some of that, but let's let them have their good time. Look for Lenny. I just love this.
Seen that fella I was with?
I don't know, sorry.
Hey, Lenny! Can't find my friend. You know where he went?
Sorry, I don't know.
Hey, buddy. Lenny? Lenny, where are you? You know which way my friend went?
This is one of my favorite portrayals of being completely drunk in a game, because it has the it doesn't just have the swaying camera like you see a lot of the time, but it's like, oh, here's Lenny. It's really got the confusion. It makes you feel like you're drunk, and it's just great. This is fun. It's a good time.
Why ain't you never met?
That's the thing, you see, because it... Lenny? Lenny! Get away from me! Now! Who's living in my shit? Come on! Get down from me! Hey! You know where Lenny is?
No, sorry.
You know where my friend is?
Oh, I think I found him.
Goddamn animals!
Who do you think you're talking to?
Nobody. I'm talking to nobody.
What did you say?
What?
I said, what did you say?
Get lost, buddy.
Shut up, mister. Yeah, shut your mouth, mister.
I love that there's no controls to this part, because that would definitely be too much.
Damn it, Lenny, stop thumping off on me!
I love that there's even spelling errors. Great bartender who looks like Lenny.
Maybe you should switch to water, my friend.
Lenny! You bastard! Been looking all over for you, Lenny.
How many of you had, pal?
Oh, Lenny! There you are, Lenny.
I'm Clyde. You got the wrong fella.
Oh god, it gets even worse. Oh, nope, you're not Lenny. You look like Lenny.
You're a good friend to me, Arthur.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Not you again? No.
not gonna drown him. Am I? Nah. Oops. Oops. I have gotten much farther than that last time. Oh god. This is one of my favorite sequences in this game.
Arthur! God, you alive, Arthur?
I want to die. Well, what did we do?
I don't know.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah. You pair degenerates. There's a fine for drunken violence in this town. You're just lucky no one was killed.
Hey, we didn't start a thing.
Yes, you did.
Well, I don't remember.
Either you fools got any money? It's $10 and you're free to walk.
Sure.
Now, get out of here. I don't want to see either of you around here no more.
So, that was a quiet drink?
First one was pretty quiet.
Yeah, the first one was pretty quiet.
At least it took your mind off goddamn Mikey.
Well, that's certainly true. I gotta get out of here.
I'm just gonna have a little sit down and feel sorry for myself.
Alright. Well, I think being absolutely shit-faced and having a great time doing it was a good enough time for us to end. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Like I said, we'll come back to Red Dead at some point. I'm definitely not going to... I'm not going to stop here. I'm definitely going to come back to Red Dead, like I said, at some point. But like I said, next week I am thinking really hard about picking up with a new game series. Probably going to start Mass Effect. Because I've ranted and raved about how great of a game it was and how much I love it. So I'm probably going to start with that next week, or I might do something else. We'll see. So possibly same time. Keep an eye on my channel. Keep an eye on my Facebook page. If there's anything that you want me to talk about in particular, shoot me a message. Put it in a comment. Let me know. All right. So if that's it, then I will see you guys later, and have yourselves a great evening. Bye-bye.